one of the young people pulled a fire alarm because they felt she was somewhere in the hotel. They didn't know if she was in the room and someone had abducted her or exactly what had happened. And that's the only thing that really prompted the beginnings of an investigation by the Rosemont Police Department. They finally came out and said, what's really going on here? And that's really what prompted. So a lot of credit has to be given to this family and to these young people, knowing Kenneka and knowing that she would not have left that hotel. If their pleas had only been heard by the hotel staff, this young lady would be alive today.
Well, I'm telling you, it's a sorry day. It is a sad day, Cheryl, when you can't get any help and you have to pull the darn fire alarm to get someone to pay attention to you, trying to say, your daughter is missing and she's somewhere in this hotel. Can you help me find her? They had to pull the fire alarm. Now listen to this timeline, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry Rogers, because you know the timeline better than me. This teen girl was seen leaving the elevator alone, but she had not left alone. She was with her little girlfriends to start with. At 3:20 a.m., somebody, somewhere, had slipped her topiramate, okay, which is not a street drug. All right, nobody in her family has ever had topiramate. It's a seizure medication. And she is just struggling to even keep her balance. And you see her. I don't know where the security guards were at the Crown Plaza Hotel, but they sure were not looking at the security bank because she can hardly walk. She's falling into the walls, and this is not from being drunk. She then is spotted somehow down in this maze of a kitchen there beneath the Crown Plaza Hotel, and she gets somehow to a completely abandoned area that has not been locked off for people to come into. Then there's no camera that shows how she got put into that freezer, but we know somewhere something went wrong. Her hair is a mess. There's blood on her foot. Her pants are pulled down. Her shirt is pulled up. Everything is askew. There's no scuff marks, nothing to show she tried to get out. I don't quite understand it, but the whole thing was she spotted at 3:20 a.m. or should have been spotted on the security video. That's what it shows now that we've gotten a chance to look at it. Do you know when they finally told police? They were on the phone with the mom at 4 a.m. We can't find Kenneka. 1 p.m. that day. That almost 12 hours passed.
No, actually, it was more like 21 hours. It was the next morning that they finally located her.
Oh, yeah. It was by the time they found her. She goes missing at 3:20 a.m. It was after 1 a.m. she's found dead. All that time, Cheryl, the mom was begging for help, couldn't get anybody to listen. Let me pause right now in our search for justice in this case and thank her. With me is veteran trial lawyer Larry Rogers Jr. and director of the Cold Case Institute, Cheryl McCollum. Jacqueline Gray, Crime Online investigative reporter, what more can you tell me?
My whole issue I was having while I was writing about this and reading about it was why was she down there? It was an under construction area. They had cameras everywhere but the freezer, which I would feel like that would be like a huge liability. A freezer, heavy freezer, it's not being supervised. And that whole part I feel like hasn't been acknowledged by the hotel. It seems like right now they're doing a lot of damage control, but they're not really still giving us enough information to work with to get a timeline.
Out of the 46 or so cameras that they had, surveillance cameras that they had there on the premises, there are two significant ones that would have captured her path toward this kitchen, and for some odd and strange reason, they're claiming those were not working. Just a lot of unexplained issues here with this case, and we want to get to the bottom of them.
Nancy, I got to jump in here. As a crime scene investigator, I pull video from hotels all the time. All you have to do is type in the date and the time. It is all digital. It would have shown them immediately. It would not have taken 10 minutes, Nancy, to see her path and to follow it and go find her. It
Oh,
wouldn't have
it's
taken
just making me
10
sick.
minutes.
Cheryl, Larry, I know I told you. Larry knows this story. Cheryl, did I ever tell you when I was in Arizona, and of course I knew I'd be gone over 2 nights, so I took the children with me. They at that time were, I guess, 5. It was during the Jodi Arias trial. And we were staying in this high-rise hotel. And we were waiting for the elevator. And it was a big bank of elevators, like 10 elevators, 5 on each side. And we were waiting, and one opened at the far end, and I said, that's not going the right way, guys. Honey, Lucy, at the last second, jumped on the elevator, and it closed. I dove for it. I dove head first for it, Cheryl. I tried. I dove into the elevator, and it closed just like in the movies. Cheryl, do you hear what I'm saying? There was me and John David and I, and Lucy lost on an elevator, and it was one of those fancy elevators. I couldn't tell what floor she got off at anything. Oh, dear Lord in heaven. I immediately went to the lobby, screaming my head off, left John David with security, told them what was happening, and I started going up floor to floor to floor to floor, screaming off the elevators. Can you imagine if some creepy, pervy dude got Lucy at 4 or 5 years old? And the little thing thought she was on our floor where we were staying and was trying to find it. Well, I went every floor. I couldn't find her. I was dialing 911. I was on the elevator and it wouldn't go through. I got off the elevator, hit send for 911, and turned to my left, and there was the security with Lucy, a lady with Lucy and John David. A lady had found her like 3 floors down, wandering the hall alone, Cheryl. Asked her where she was going and took her down to the lobby. What I experienced in that 20 minutes, I never want to think about again. And that's what this mom has been living through ever since this happened, Cheryl.
Inexcusable.
And according to the lawyer with me right now, Larry Rogers says the hotel, quote, never checked, they never searched, they never did anything while a young teen girl was dying in their freezer. Why? Why, Larry?
It's inexplicable. It's inexcusable, and we expect to hold them fully accountable for it. The Crown Plaza has not produced any legitimate explanation for why they didn't do the simple thing of looking at the cameras. Why do you have the cameras if you don't even take the time to look at them?
I tell you what, I'm just so beside myself about this child. And if you look at her in the kitchen, Cheryl, this is just before she is in the freezer. Her hair is straight. Her pants are on. Her shoes are fine. There's no cut, nothing like that. She's perfectly fine, still all dressed up with her hair all done up and her little jean outfit on. She's fine. I'm looking at her right now as we're talking. I'm looking at the video, walking through that abandoned kitchen, probably trying to find her way out of there. She's fine.
Well, Nancy, let me just state the obvious. We keep being told that nobody was watching those cameras. We don't know that. Maybe somebody did see her. Maybe somebody followed her after a little while.
Another thing, Larry Rogers Jr., lawyer for the Kenneka Jenkins family, the mother told me that when she went down to see the freezer, when they finally let her see it, that there was a video camera on top of it blinking red, and she said, what did that camera show? Remember what she said, Larry?
That's correct. She thinks that she's described consistently a camera that she says should have captured her daughter walking in that freezer, and we've been unable to identify any footage that they produced from a camera that depicts that. And not only that, there are other cameras that should have caught her path that, again, we've got no footage from, and they're claiming that they weren't working at the time. So, again, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of questions about her.
Now, we have reached out to the Crown Plaza Hotel, and have not heard anything back from them. Now, I don't know what that means, nothing. But I'm anxious to hear their side of this. I want to hear their side of this. What else does the autopsy reveal? Larry Rogers Jr. with me, Cheryl McCollum with me. Cheryl, what did you see that sparked your interest in her autopsy?
Well, obviously, her blood alcohol was not that high to, be indicative of her walking the way she was walking. But the drugs in her system, or the drug in her system, Again, some of the folks that were at that party that have not been interviewed by the police need to come forward. There needs to be a full investigation of how that drug got into her system and caused her to be incapacitated.
Jacqueline, what do you make of the autopsy?
What I make out of it is that there's not really much here. It just seems like another effort to brush off her death as an accident. One of the biggest things that I noticed in the autopsy was they had said she died from hypothermia with alcohol intoxication and topiramate, which is a drug that's used to treat epilepsy and migraines. And they said that was in her system and that it was a contributing factor. But from what we're hearing from her family is that she was never prescribed this drug. They have no clue how it got in her system. And there's really no explanation why it was in her system. They mentioned that there was no date rape drugs in her system, that her blood alcohol content was 0.112. And at one point they said there was no evidence that she was forced to take the drug, which at this point I don't get how they could tell whether she was forced or whether it was slipped in her drink. But there's really no explanation on why, of all the drugs, party drugs and whatnot, why was this in her system.
Yeah, we are very concerned with Rosemont's police department having closed the investigation so quickly and concluded that there was no foul play. A lot of the questions have not been answered. There are hotel staff that was present in the hotel who has not been interviewed. This investigation is far from over, and Rosemont prematurely determined that there was no foul play here. We need to figure out exactly what happened. Why is her shoe off? Why does she have the injury to her foot that we see on the pictures? Why does her hair look the way it is? Why is her clothing displaced? All of those are questions that need to be answered. In addition, why is this camera footage and video footage missing? The Crown Plaza has not provided any legitimate explanation for why there is missing video footage. And in particular, why would it be video footage that would...
Yeah, and I don't understand why they wouldn't let them look at the video footage. Now, this is what they're saying now. A spokesperson for the Crown Plaza Hotel said that they have extended the offer to Kenneka's family to privately view 36 total hours of surveillance footage from 40 different cameras inside. Quote, "Our hearts go out to the Kenneka's mother, her family, and friends. We hope covering the funeral costs provide a small bit of relief for them," says the hotel spokesperson Glenn Harston. What do you think about that, Larry Rogers Jr.?
That was an offer they extended early on. We've received the video footage and looked at it, and again, there is footage that's missing from cameras we know to have been present. And we got no explanation about why those cameras didn't capture this young lady and what would have happened to that video footage.
So you really believe that there's missing video footage?
I know that there are cameras. I saw them myself. I've toured the facility. I saw the cameras. And they would have captured the path that they are describing Kenneka to have traveled toward this freezer area. And no video footage from those cameras of Kenneka.
I know that she was alive at 1:30 a.m. because she sent a text message at 1:30 a.m. And that's the last that was heard of her. You know, another thing that really hurt me when I was talking to the mom, Larry Rogers, was that she kept trying to, quote, rein it in, stay in control. And I'll tell you what I think. I believe that if I told Dr. Oz this, I said, Oz, if you had gone to that lobby and you had asked to see surveillance video and report your daughter missing, they'd have showed it to you. But I think that they totally discounted her because she was a woman, because it was late at night, because she's a minority, because the whole group was perceived as partying. And in fact, when she called 911, which I'm going to play for you in a minute, the mom tried to report the daughter missing, and what did they tell her, Larry Rogers Jr.?
They told her to give it a few hours. You know, this is a mom who knew her daughter. She got up out of her bed and went to the hotel. She knew that Kenneka would never have left the premises alone or with anyone